you, what I guess was your plan for Advanced Spine Center in terms of like digital marketing before working with us? And I know your answer might be different too because you came to us when you were just opening the clinic too. So I
Yeah.
didn't know if you really had a digital marketing, I guess, like strategy yet. But I guess just kind of, yeah, tell us what Advanced Spine Center's plan was.
Our plan was really just obviously with the pandemic and everything happening, that was obviously uncalled for. We definitely did want to obviously be out there doing more social media. And with the pandemic that happened, we noticed a lot of people were kind of worried about coming into the medical center. So we definitely wanted to be out there more virtually, try to do more kind of virtual sessions with client, definitely get Facebook going, Google, and other kind of platforms that we can kind of market ourselves. We did realize that in this area there's a lot of people that definitely want to come in. They do have money around here, so we noticed that if we can kind of reach out to those people and have like word of mouth, get them referring to come in slowly. So we thought that with this promotion that we are doing, if we kind of went down to a little less, doing like a $69 visit would kind of get them in the door. That kind of helped in the long run. And basically we want to start off with Facebook because nowadays everything is virtual, everything is going on like social media and stuff. So Facebook was a good way to definitely kind of go about this. I was looking at different avenues as well, but I feel with what we're doing right now with the Ovation, Facebook is a good start and it's working out really well for us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know that it was pretty exciting to be able to help you, and especially just opening up the clinic and being able to bring foot traffic in right away. I
Yeah,
know we had to pause for a bit with everything going on with 2020 with
exactly.
COVID, but to be able to kind of have I guess, a system that's more predictable that we can kind of turn on and off so that you have that
Exactly.
predictability, I think is pretty huge.
It really is huge. We were looking at like different ways of doing our marketing efforts too. Like we were thinking like newspapers or magazines and articles and all that, or being for example, like on a bus sign or anything like that. But we realized that like with yellow pages and all these things, it's like with the pandemic happening, people are really afraid or even worried about even opening these things. If they're going to be actually delivered. Where because when you're doing it virtually, like that you can kind of split test and make sure that it gets to these areas. You can kind of break it down more. So we realize this is really what's helping. And so definitely, yeah, virtual is where to go nowadays.
Yeah, that's exactly what I usually tell other chiropractors as well. Is there's not necessarily anything wrong with doing like print marketing these days, but the big gap is that you can't really track or measure or scale it, right? So once you find what's working, you're not really knowing where the source is from. There's
Exactly.
not a good way to automate it and scale it. You guys are busy. You can't be like
Yeah,
figuring out the ins and outs every single day of what's working and what's not, right? So
exactly.
to kind of be able to measure it and track it and scale it is definitely huge. And as you know, like we chat on a weekly basis, there's always things that need to be kind of tweaked with a campaign or certain things to
Yeah,
look at and focus on. And very small changes can really affect I guess the performance of it too. So I
for
mean,
sure.
data is our friend. So that's what usually we try to leverage
Yeah,
for sure.
for
So
sure.
yeah, I guess I wanted to ask you too. I know every clinic is different. It's probably different month to month. But with working with us for about a year now, do you kind of have a ballpark idea of what a typical return on investment has been with working with us?
Yeah, so it would be hard to say exactly over the years, but definitely about like every patient, like when your patient comes in, it's not just about them coming in for the first time. You want to make sure that whatever issues they have, it's not going to get better in the first visit. I always tell patients, if you're in it for one visit, it's always for the experience if that's what they want. But if they're dealing with any kind of pain, they're going to have to come in a little more than one time, right? Because chiropractic is natural work. It definitely takes some time. And then these patients will definitely refer more other patients if they have a good experience. They bring in their family members and stuff. So and on top of that, there are definitely other things that they can benefit from as well, but that they have coverage for in terms of their benefits, whether it's any kind of medical bracing or any kind of like uh, customized like orthotics or anything like that as well that can really help with that. So that all stuff can definitely take into account and definitely kind of help you with a better return on investment. And once again, we're getting these patients coming in for chiropractic, but you have to understand that they have different benefits as well, like the physiotherapy or massage. And when you look at his patient as a whole, there's definitely different avenues that they can help out with. Physiotherapists can help out for more so like rehabilitation medicine, and massage therapy can kind of provide them that relaxation, deep tissue massage, whereas chiropractic focus more on the spine and the manipulations. Now, when a patient comes in, there's different avenues that you can definitely have a return on investment on and help you in the long run, right? So it's hard to say exactly overall, but definitely it's been a big help, right? A lot of our clients are definitely coming from Ovation. If I were to like really break it down, I would probably say Ovation is almost 80% of my clients that are coming from Ovation. I would say about like 5% is coming from the medical doctor referrals, and the other ones are just through like our websites and then Google and such that people are finding us around here. So definitely, I don't really have exactly numbers down, but return on investment,
That's awesome. That makes me really happy to hear that, especially first year in clinic. And
Yeah,
obviously, there's so much work that goes into it. And to be able to have a pretty strong year
yeah,
despite,
yeah,
the pandemic and everything else that
yeah,
goes with that, to be able to
yeah.
be a big part of your growth strategy is very
Yeah.
fulfilling for us to hear. So that's pretty
For
awesome.
sure, for sure. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to like your team. How you guys, provide the script or how you explain to patients the promotion. Like you're gonna get leads from this ovation, but at the end it's how you convert it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it's easier said than done. Just because there's only so much you can do on your end, bringing the patients in the door, but it's up to us on how we can convert it, or practice our script, or making sure that we're showing to these patients that we're the solution to the problem, that they should look forward to coming to see us, right? That's at the end of the day, that's what's going to sell. And then when they feel that they're comfortable that this is the place to be, then your work will speak for itself.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And that's why I always call you one of our star clients too, because
Yeah,
from the beginning it's going to take work, right? Any sort of marketing
yeah,
strategy, even no matter how much you outsource it, it's still going to
yeah,
take work, but you're going to get what you put into it, right?
for sure, for sure. I totally believe in that. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think too, it's about having those transparent conversations of, okay, what's working, what's not working, what do you need support
exactly.
with? How can we potentially help? Whether it's with a script or automations and follow up sequences. I know that we just started getting you onto a software to kind of help with lead conversions and tracking and call tracking, all sorts of features, right? We want to make
Yeah,
sure that we're being mindful of I guess, the features that we're integrating. We're not just doing it just to be fancy about it, but to actually
exactly.
see what's working, right? So,
For sure, for
um,
sure, for sure.
yeah, no, that's really awesome. Okay, so cool. It's really great to hear that. I mean, obviously, we already know this working together for a year now that it's working, and
Yeah,
it's really exciting the things that we can continue to keep doing over time. I feel like
exactly.
it's just the beginning in that sense
Yeah,
too, where it's like we can just keep growing and growing and do more and more and build that clientele. And then that's
yeah,
when the referrals keep coming more, right? So
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. That's what it is. And eventually it's word of mouth, right? That's everything. People having knowing other people when they're getting good responses. Like, oh, you have low back pain for their colleagues. Like, well, why don't you go up to the Spine Center, see what they can do for you? So word of mouth is huge. So it's not just that one patient that's coming in; it's who they talk about, and like there's no value that it can be unlimited. Where you're getting all these clients, right?
uh
Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes we talk to practitioners who they say like maybe they're a little apprehensive about digital marketing because
yeah,
they want to just rely on word of mouth, right? Like referrals, that's the gold mine. That's the goal with businesses, right? Is we want to be
yeah,
able to just rely on that and just have inbound business. But I always tell them too is that's always the goal. So how can we get there? We have to get more eyes on it, more leads through, more foot traffic through, and then that's the snowball
yeah.
effect that
Word of
comes.
mouth would happen on its own, right? It's through like your service that you offer. So the word of mouth will happen as long as you have to have something first come through the door. Then the word of mouth kicks in, right? It's like
Yeah.
for
They're
sure.
different. They
Yeah,
work together in that way for sure.
yeah,
Okay, so obviously we know each other pretty decently well, working together at this point for a good year. Would you, I mean, I don't know if this is a redundant question, but would you kind of recommend us to other chiropractors that are looking for that steady and predictable growth in their clinics?
yeah. Paying off, and even those who have been in the game for a long time,
Mhm.
right? They've been probably doing other ways of marketing, and Facebook marketing is just another avenue, and I think it's really beneficial. I would highly recommend it to other people. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think your situation is pretty unique in the sense that we did work with you from the beginning. And
Yeah.
so there's only so much we can do starting out, and there was that level of, okay, well, you have to kind of trust the process a bit and give it a chance.
Agreed.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and over time being able to, we can always test out different sorts of offers,
Yeah.
once we get more niche specific as well. And you want to start attracting more high ticket patients, there's all sorts of different sorts of campaigns we can run. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting to kind of have that notion that we could grow together with that and kind of see what other sorts of campaigns we can run as the Advanced Spine Center enters their second year in business now, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, January 15 marks the second year. So time flew by really fast, especially with the COVID and everything. So we were short. It was like from June to the end of the year that we kind of just operated.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a pretty bumpy road, but we're going uphill and we're excited to just keep moving forward, adding more people to our team.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. And that was one really exciting thing too, is when we would chat and check in with each other and you'd tell me, okay, like things are, I know sometimes it'd be hard to schedule a chat or to be able to talk because you get so busy
Agreed.
from the
Yeah.
leads and everything. But it's pretty awesome as well to hear when you say, we're going to hire a massage therapist or hire a physiotherapist. And you're at that point and it's like, wow, like that felt like it happened pretty quickly from the outside, at least
Yeah.
looking in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It was always challenging, but it's definitely rewarding. Hopefully we just keep growing and growing. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I just wanted to ask you for people watching too, specifically chiropractors. Um, I guess what would you say to those who are maybe considering other marketing companies? I know there's a lot of other people that claim to do similar things, and I'm sure a lot of them work well too. But would you kind of recommend us over other companies? And if so, like what would be kind of your reason behind that?
Yeah, definitely. But at the end of the day, like I said, it always comes down to the person, right? Because no one's just going to come into your door. You got to be able to kind of make sure that, like I said, you're the solution to their problem. They're looking for you. You're the right fit for what they're complaining about. So at the end of the day, I always feel that people will come into their door, but it's how you convert it that makes a difference. That will kind of bring in the more ROI, like we discussed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are different ways, but it's really how the clinic approaches these patients and how they make sure that they can retain the clients and making sure they're satisfied with their services.
Absolutely. And that's a huge need that I started identifying too is yeah, okay, it's great to get leads, right? It's every clinic needs leads, sure, but how can we support you guys through the process? How can we kind of work with you on certain issues? And that's where we're going to launch that membership site for you guys so you can kind of log in and have training portals and different videos. So there's different stages of like what a clinic needs depending on where they're at, right? So we want to make sure that we're supporting you from the marketing and growth perspective of okay, what is needed, right? So it's not just the leads, and there's other sorts of different tiers of service too, where we could kind of hire like an in-house patient enrollment coordinator, is what we like to call it, to kind of call the leads for the clinics too. So there's always it's always so very like custom tailored. We always like to make sure that we're not doing anything that's cookie cutter all the time. Like it depends on what the clinic needs at that time, and then kind of growing with you guys and customizing that.
Yeah,
So
exactly, exactly. Eventually, yeah, eventually we can have like more people or specific people that would just do the follow-ups, reaching out to these clients. I would just call leads right away, right?
uh-huh,
That's the goal, to expand, and then like I said, it just grows and grows from there, right? You can designate specific people to specific things, right?
uh-huh.
That's the
Yeah.
goal.
And that's the thing is that there's a lot that goes into that and doing it in a certain way. So
Yeah,
working with somebody who kind of has experience with doing that with other
yeah,
clinics and just having that background too, it just helps to kind of consult with them and chat with them.
yeah,
Having
how
those check-ins I find really helps a
yeah,
lot with figuring out how we can improve performance always.
exactly. And seeing how they're doing it or how you're doing it differently, what's working for them or whatnot. I
Uh-huh,
remember when I first started, I remember when I was telling you I was running the whole show. I was calling the leads, I was doing everything,
uh-huh,
right? Eventually, it just got way too crazy. I couldn't do that. I remember I was telling you, I was like, I'm handling everything, so it's really difficult. But eventually, as you grow, that's a good sign. It's a good problem to have. And then you can delegate tasks to different people, and that's how you come about as a business, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing I actually wanted to touch on quick is because, there's obviously a lot of clinic like chiropractors. They think like my issue is I need patients, right? I need leads, I need patients. But then when you start getting that traffic, all of a sudden other gaps in the process come up, and it's like, okay, well, how are we calling leads? How are we following up with them? What is our service? Are we really communicating effective treatment plans to them? Are we really communicating them with them what they need, or are we just focusing on the front end and the numbers, right? So
Exactly.
it's an entire process. It's never just about getting the leads and getting the patients through, right?
Because at the end of the day, the patient can come in, and if you're not able to retain them, you're not able to fix them up, and they're not going to come back. No one's going to keep coming back to you, right? And
Uh-huh,
a lot of our care is natural care, right? So it'll take some time, but they have to see progress as well. They have to make sure that they feel that this is the right fit for them, right? We might not be doing something that they like, you know what I mean? So it's not working out, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's how your staff and everyone can kind of portray that message to these patients.
uh-huh.
Right? That's really key. So that's why we practice scripts all the time when we have time, just knowing how to talk to patients and how making sure that we're able to portray our message to them. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And that's the really great thing that why we love working with you guys at Advanced Mind Centers, because you're very much on top of every step of the process, right? There's an entire patient journey, and there's a lot that goes into the patient relationship management stuff for you guys to see
Yeah.
that huge ROI. So you're gonna get, like we said, you're gonna get what you put into it. But beyond that, it's you have to be hungry for that growth, because it could kind of be aggressive growth too, and you have to be
Yeah.
ready for the work that goes into that, right?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So one last question for you before we can wrap this up. But I just wanted to ask you too. You did touch on this partially already, but what would you say to practice owners who are maybe on the fence about jumping in? Even if the trial is offered or not, but like, what would you really recommend in terms of maybe mindset to any practice owner that's kind of on the fence? Maybe they've been burned in the past by other marketing companies, or they just
Mhm.
don't know what it's about. What would you kind of say to them?
I would definitely like, I would have them kind of, practice their scripts. I really think that's really, really important, right? Not trying to rush it and trying to get that patient to come in right away, because a lot of times they might not even show up, right? It's really important to kind of have a good delivery, like message to these clients when you're talking to them. I think that's a really key component to how you're able to send a message and retain these clients, right? And I think like what you do really well is, just split testing, making sure like different demographics are able to come in. I think that's helping a lot as well, just making sure that sometimes patients don't even show up, right? So it's like, why is that happening? Are we not sending the message properly? So I think it goes back to like staff training. I think that's huge. Just making sure that you're able to send the message properly to these clients. And the scripts are big ones that you sent out as well. I think if we keep practicing that practice time, you can perfect that as a team and able to retain more clients, right? Because at the end,
Absolutely.
we can always like schedule these patients and they don't just show up, right? Like why didn't they show up? They did not feel like, was it, were we like more like, is that just coming right away, just book their appointments? Did we not listen to them? Were we not listening to their problems? What kind of went wrong? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I
Absolutely.
really think it's just a way you kind of train your staff and how well they can deliver the message to see if this will be effective or not. What you do, the marketing aspect of
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a couple of things that come to mind. One is you don't want to be transactional, right? You don't want to just book that first appointment and then
it.
be upset when they don't show up and wonder, well, what, I don't get it. Like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
they're just not a good lead, and then thinking
Yeah.
that it's just not working, right? Um,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. And the other thing that really stands out is that you focus on the really important things like the substance of the campaign, right? We're not just going to do this promotional offer, whatever the offer will be, but we're going
Yeah.
to look at every single other step and say, okay, what do I need to do as a practice owner to support my staff and to support my potential patients and coming in to make sure that we're actually helping them the best way that we can, because it's kind of our duty as a practice owner too, right?
Exactly. And like you said, you're getting all these leads and there's different type of leads. There's green, the yellow, the red, right? So some people, they don't even care what you say. They're signing up, sign me up right away. Some people, like, no matter what you say, they're not interested at all. And then the yellow are the one that you have to really kind of send your message across to make sure that you can retain that client because they're kind of on the fence, right? So it goes back to your message at the end of the day, right? It's how you portray that message that will really get them in the door and make them look forward to coming in, right? That's the key component. So I always tell my patients, like, the last question you should ask is, what time of day do you like to come? Make sure that you listen to what they have to say and you have to give your kind of spiel of what we're offering to them and how we can help them. And the last thing is, okay, what day and time works best for you,
Hmm.
right? So they see that, you're so eager to book the appointment away, you don't even listen to what they have to say, they might not feel comfortable, right? So it's like I said, it always comes down to staff training and making sure they have the script on point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to truly wanting to help people. If you really
Yeah,
want to help them with their pain, then you're
yeah.
just genuinely going to be curious. Okay, well, where did this start? What's the source of it? And
Exactly.
you know,
You got to listen to their story. You got to hear them out, right? That's the most important part. If they feel you rush that or you jump into a conclusion or something like that, they're not going to do
yeah,
that. I don't like
exactly. For
that.
sure. Yeah, exactly. That's it's so true. It's so important. Without that, it's really hard to kind of see success no matter what growth strategies you have, right? So it's
Yeah,
great to know that too. Like this is why we love working with practice owners like you, because your heart is in the right place, your
yeah,
intention is in the right place, and that goes a long way. And that just makes everything so much easier, not just working together, but to help
yeah.
support you kind of on the outside too, and just know that you're on the right track to be able to help you with what you need. So
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome. And the other exciting thing too is being able to utilize automations and triggers in our software and email sequences, text sequences, all that stuff too. We can
yeah,
continue to get deeper and deeper into that to support you guys, so that as we hone in on whatever it is, as we improve on conversion rates because we're testing out scripts and optimizing campaigns and all that fun stuff, but also making
yeah,
sure that if there's certain things we can automate, we'll automate it. But then the parts that need to remain humanized will
yeah.
always remain humanized, and you just keep honing in on that too, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's more subjective, right? So it's got to be different for every patient. You got to kind of drill that on point for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, cool. I feel like this is enough information for people. Do you have any last words to kind of wrap this up?
No, to be honest, that's about it. I think we covered a lot of what we just discussed. I honestly, like, if Ovation marketing didn't work, I wouldn't be doing this, right? It
Yeah,
really does work. We've been doing it monthly. It's been doing really well. So I'm looking forward to continue doing that. And we have all these new things that we're doing. So I love it. I'm excited for more. Let's see what else we can do to kind of get it going.
awesome. I love it. Always hungry for growth, hungry to help people, and that's the key, right? So, awesome. Thanks, Dr. Zuri. I'm gonna wrap it up here. But yeah, thanks again for your time, and yeah, hope this helps everybody that's listening in.